Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Week 17 edition of Manz Maker, the only DFS show that makes the panties drop. I am your host, Pete the Manz Manzanelli, and today I am joined by a truly prestigious guest. This is a Manz you can find over at FantasyLabs and Rotoviz. This is a Manz who once tried to short me in the gambling Olympics. This is a man who is named after a nice bottle of Prosecco. Matt LaMarca, welcome to the program, my bro.
What a great introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. You know, you've had on some real giants of the industry, so I'm going to try not to let your viewers down today.
Yeah, dude, you know, it's kind of like an old cliche that all these DFS touts live in their mother's basement, but based on your video feed, it does seem like you legitimately are broadcasting from your mother's basement.
No, man, no. We're better than that. They let me keep a room in the house, but that's about it.
Okay, yeah, you kind of got like the college kid dorm room vibe going. I think I see the Old Spice on the dresser. Dude, I like it.
I mean, listen, it probably took me longer to graduate college than any human who didn't leave with like a master's or doctorate degree. So I'm okay with that vibe. Like if that's my vibe, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, dude, you got the Van Wilder thing going on. You just keep getting older and the chicks stay the same age. What's going on, dude?
Oh man, I mean, I had about 6 different majors, I think, while I was in school, including music at one point. I was a saxophone player, pretty good one back in the day. So I just tried a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then finally I was like, I got to get the hell out of here. So I just got a history degree, and now, of course, I'm doing a job with absolutely no college requirement. So
that's right, dude. Now you're double dipping these days, right? You're doing NBA DFS stuff right now, and also trying to keep tabs on the NFL.
Yeah, mostly NBA for action and FantasyLabs, but got the Lang the Points show for Rotoviz where we do some picks against the spread. I know I got to always check out what your uncle's thinking on a given week, you know. And then we do the DFS show on the daily, which, you know, you've been lucky enough to grace our presence in the listener league. Couple top 3s, couple top 5s. So, you know, the man's really putting his talent on display for all the Rotoviz listeners.
Yeah, dude, for everyone who just only tracks me in the Man's GPP where my results have been, say, less than stellar, let the record show that I crush it in this Rotoviz on the daily listener league. I mean, Matt LaMarca is going to attest.
Totally can attest. You're right up there on the all-time money leaderboard, but you know, we have one guy who won twice this season, so you're still a well bit shy of him. But you know, won first place in week 17, and the throne is yours.
That's right. You guys hanging out in the chat, business as usual this week. We got Ethan, the bridge inspector. He is amped, stoked to be amped, as am I. But before we get into this very tricky slate, I think we need to address the elephant in the room, Matt LaMarca, and that is, you have been on the record as being a man's hater. You have tried to bet against me. You have gone on very public airwaves and said that you're shorting me, that you've doubted my status as a crusher. And I just want to give you a chance to apologize and admit how wrong you were.
Listen, I'm man enough to admit when I was wrong. And I was wrong in this case. Like, I had to write up all those profiles for the gambling Olympics. And out of the 12 participants that I looked at, I had you pegged maybe 10th or 11th. You know, I thought you were all bravado with no results. And I was clearly wrong. Obviously, the alcohol events I thought you would do pretty well at. But, you know, you had a strong showing overall. I will say I did make some money backing Peter Jennings against you in the second annual Broathlon, which how he was listed at plus 500, I will never understand.
Yeah, I threw that one away. I should have won, but yes, Peter was definitely the value play in that. Didn't he have the best odds? I mean, by worst odds, I mean.
Yes. Yep. He was plus 500, despite the fact that like earlier that day, he made 70 out of 100 3-pointers.
Yeah, that line probably should have moved. Yeah, we're already starting to haggle what we're going to do for the next Broathlon. You know, Bale's very good at the football events, the drinking. You know, Levitan's has like 2.5 things he's good at and doesn't want to do anything other than that.
He's probably pushing for like a Westminster dog show type of event. I think that him and Jerry could do very well there.
Dude, that's so good. Maybe we just have Adam like with a baton, like sending Jerry through little hoops. Maybe that's what he wants to do. All right, dude. This week is nuts, dude. This week, I'm trying to keep up with the news, dude. All these, the Roto Worlds, the Fantasy Labs, everybody's got the news coming out. My head's spinning, dude. I'm knee deep in eggnog, in gifts, and pussy, and it's just hard for me to get centered right now. Can you center me and help me get on the winning track for Week 17?
Yeah, I think the one narrative I'm kind of looking at here is that, like, I think the ownership is going to be heavily invested on teams with quote unquote something to play for. But I don't know if that necessarily makes much of a difference. Like, Matt Ryan has been good all season, and they haven't had anything to play for since like week 11. So, I think that obviously you want to avoid teams that are going to bench their starters. But as long as these guys are in the game, I don't think there's any motivation boost. So, I'm looking at some guys in that Atlanta-Tampa Bay game, although there is some thought that Jameis Winston might not play the whole thing, which obviously hurts that side of it. But I think that for the most part, we can play the majority of the guys on this slate and just kind of treat it like a regular week.
Yeah, let's start from that point, talking about some of the chalk and then trying to identify if it's good chalk or bad chalk. Obviously, the Chiefs. Everyone wants to play the Chiefs. They have something to play for. They're at home playing a shitty opponent. Are we worried about on Mahomes, Tyreek, and Kelsey getting out of control?
I mean, they're definitely going to be the highest owned guys. I think Mahomes for sure, highest owned quarterback. Kelsey, highest owned tight end. But, I just don't know how you avoid them completely. Like, they scored 40 points the last time these two teams played, and that was in Oakland. The Chiefs have historically been like much better at home. So, I don't see any reason why they don't go crazy. Like, Oakland just won a big game last week for them against Denver. Like, I think that was a spot where they got up for. I don't think they're going to really care very much at all this week. So, all the usual suspects for the Chiefs. I think you can get some Damian Williams if you want maybe a little bit more contrarian exposure to the game. But for sure, Mahomes, Kelsey, maybe a little bit of Tyreek here too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you're approaching, Damian Williams has been killing it, and now Spencer Ware is rumored to come back. If you're going to give it a percentage split on that backfield, how are you leaning?
I think Williams is the better player. I'm hoping it's something like 75-25. It might be closer to 60-40, but I think, given what these guys have done, that Williams has to be the, lead back of the two at this point.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because I believe there's another team that is kind of mirroring the Chiefs this week, and that's the Steelers, also in a smash spot versus the Bengals. I assume Roethlisberger is going to be maybe the second highest owned quarterback, and they also have a muddied backfield with it looks like James Conner coming back. How are you approaching the Steelers in this spot? And maybe if they go slightly under-owned relative to the Chiefs, maybe there's some value there.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this last night, me and my co-hosts on the Daily. Like, historically, Mike Tomlin has liked to lean on one running back and one running back only. So it's tempting to say that, James Conner's coming back. He's going to be the bell cow, but it's easy to lean on one running back when that one running back is Le'Veon Bell, who is maybe the most talented running back in the league, certainly up there in the top 3 or 5. So I think you can make a pretty good case that Jalen Samuels might be a better player than James Conner. So I'm expecting more of a split between those two than I think some people are. I think Conner might be interesting for tournaments because, like, I do think that the ownership is going to be a bit down on him. But I'm also fine with playing some Samuels or just fading the situation entirely.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. We got a few shout outs in the chat. We have someone named Antoni Amico. I'm not sure. Oh, I don't know who that is. We got Johnny Ringos in the chat. What's up, dude? Okay. Who do you think is going to be? Oh, here we go. We got a question. Ethan wants to know, what is the move if AB sits? It did seem like he hasn't been practicing. Dicey situation there.
I mean, the obvious call is you go to Juju. I think that one's pretty straightforward, but you look at tight end, maybe why am I blanking? The stiff arm guy.
Vance McDonald's had a farm.
Uncle Vance, like maybe he gets a few more looks in there. You know, you could maybe go to James Washington or Eli Rogers. The thing is, I think that the Steelers are pretty deep, so they could probably make up for some of it in volume as opposed to it being shifted primarily on the one player. But I do think Juju's the obvious answer.
Do you think can the Bengals keep this remotely close? I know there's a groundswell of support for Zuma this week. They got to bring it back with. Is there any chance of this staying close?
I like the Bengals. I've been kind of riding the Jeff Driscoll train. You know, I've been picking them most weeks to cover, and they've come through for me. You know, last week was a little bit fluky. They backdoored the Browns, but, you know, when you have a 14.5-point spread, the back door is almost always open. So Driscoll has shown that he can put some scoring drives together, and I love betting against the Steelers when they're a big favorite. They pretty historically underperform in that situation. You know, normally on the road is where you would really want to fade them, but 14.5 at home, like, yeah, give me the Bengals for sure. I think that they can keep this competitive.
Dude, you don't have to talk to the Manz about keeping the back door open, dude. When the ladies see me, trust me, the back door is always open, dude. It's always open. You know what is interesting about both the Raiders? Those are two teams. I've been thinking the Raiders are going to fold all season long. I thought they'd quit on Gruden, and they hang around in every damn game. And now you get them in these divisional games where they can find a reason to get up, get the energy. I could see both of these games being closer than maybe people will project it to be.
I like the Cincinnati side a lot more than the Oakland side. Like, you can't find a team that was ready to fold up shop faster than the Broncos last week on that game. So I don't think they see nearly the same thing this week against the Chiefs, who know they need to win. Like, it wouldn't shock me if that game turns into a blowout. I'm much less confident in the Steelers because historically fading teams in like must-win games has actually been pretty profitable.
That's right. That's right. Ethan brings up a very good point, though, circling back to the Steelers. Roosevelt Knicks and GPPs. I mean, I just did a tweet, dude. Everybody wants to play Jeff Wilson, 4,400 on DraftKings. People forget Kyle Juszczyk's the Stone Man, 3K, yeah. Dude. I mean, Wilson, that's fools. Kyle Juszczyk is how you win this, dude.
I know you love the tight ends. You know, you probably
fullback.
Sorry. The fullback tight end hybrid is the pure nuts, in my opinion.
There you go.
Those guys have actually done some things for you in the showdown slates, but I do think you're reaching if you play one on the main slate.
Hey, dude, you don't have to talk to the Manz about reaching, dude. You guys all play your chalk plays. The Manz is doing the reach around to the nuts. What? Dude, Johnny Ringo, hashtag Manscoins, hashtag Manscoin. Matt LaMarca's a Manscoin lit owner. Do we have that nearby for the people to see?
No. It's in the safety deposit box at the bank. You know, I know where to keep my valuables.
Good. I'm glad you have that under wraps. It is you know, taking a quick look around your room. It's by far the most valuable thing you own.
Yeah. That's fair.
So let's actually talk about the 49ers. I feel like they're kind of interesting without Marquise Goodwins, without Pierre Garçons. We got this Kittle record narrative. We got Kendrick Bourne, who's dirt cheap. We have no Matt Breida, so Jeffrey Wilson Jr. is if you don't want to go the Kyle Juszczyk route. What are your thoughts about the Niners?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kittle is like maybe my favorite tight end play of the week. He's up there in terms of favorite plays overall. I'm buying the narrative that they want to get him the yardage record. Like, I love that clip that's been going around of Shanahan when he's like apologizing to him for not getting him the single game record earlier this season. So I think for sure they're going to force feed him the ball and try to get him that tight end record, especially considering all the injuries, like you said, like, you know, Kendrick Bourne. I really don't even know who that is. I know he's had some moments this season, but if you asked me at the beginning of the season, what are your thoughts on Kendrick Bourne? I would have said, like, is he related to Jason? You know, what role did he play in the movie? I must have missed that subplot. So.
Well, dude, you are revealing yourself as a subpar analyst because some of us know everything there is to know about Kendrick Bourne. We know that his mother's name is Margaret. We know that his father went to Rutgers. I mean, I could go on about all the things I know about Kendrick Bourne.
I'm sure. Listen, like, my days of doubting the Manz are in the past. Like I'm number one on the fan club now. I bought the damn coin. Like
You're right.
Everything you can do, I want a piece of.
Yeah, I was gonna send it to you complimentary, and then I was like, I remember the stuff he said. I'm gonna make him pay for it.
I wouldn't have accepted it anyway.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have accepted.
That's
I don't
right.
take charity.
Yeah, here we go. Johnny Ringo says, how do you not accept everything he says? Play it safe, marginal plays, marginal gains, See, Johnny Ringo's knows the next level thought we're doing this week. Because I feel like I'm all over the place this week, I do want to talk about Yahoo because I've pretty much exclusively been playing on DraftKings this year. But Yahoo, dude, they just keep throwing money at us. It's a term that they call overlay in the industry, which...
Yes.
Dude, I'm never over getting laid, but apparently it's a good thing. Are you messing around with this baller, $250K of overlay tournament on Yahoo this week?
So I really have not been exploring the Yahoo streets because I know me. Like, if I put money into that, I'm going to win the GPP, obviously. And then I'm just going to have all this money in this Yahoo account, and I'm not going to know how to take it out. I'm just going to end up losing it playing other tournaments anyway. So I'm just saving this step and just keeping my money on DraftKings and FanDuel.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it is super to kind of sync up your PayPal, and it's like, who knows how to use PayPal? And so, yeah, it's really difficult. And I understand someone of your brain capacity might get tripped up on such a rigmarole.
I'm a cash and carry type of guy. I learned this from your uncle. You may not know this. I actually got my start in this industry running numbers for your uncle back in the 90s. So.
Okay. All right. So you're not up to speed on any of this Yahoo stuff.
Oh, I mean, I know what's going on. Like, and I think it's a great idea on their part because, like I was saying, people are going to put money in. They're going to play these GPPs, and then they're not going to take their money out. So I think it's a great business strategy. I certainly feel comfortable enough talking about what's going on there. But as for whether or not I'm going to be playing, I just got to keep it 100 with the people.
No, I appreciate you being honest, but dude, I hear these DFS touts and they say, if you're not playing on Yahoo, your game selection needs to be re-examined. If you aren't taking advantage of this overlay, you need to rethink yourself as a DFS player. Are you hearing that PSA that they're giving you, LaMarcus?
I'm hearing it. I mean, listen, these guys are the smartest people in the industry, outside of you, of course. And I respect what they have to say. I just, you're still going to need to hit the nuts. It's not like playing in an overlay contest guarantees that you're going to win. You still have to have good lineups. So, I'm just focusing on doing what I've been doing all season, and that's trying to make the best lineups on DraftKings. I did finish, I cashed in the Manz tournament last week, which I'm very proud of. So that's really where my focus is.
Okay, well, we won't get into it too much. It sounds messing with it. The one big difference, obviously, is it includes the Sunday night game. So we have the Titans and the Colts on Yahoo. I assume Derrick Henry is going to be pretty popular with the tear he's on. Are there any other plays in this game that interest you?
I think you can definitely look at the Colts. I like Andrew Luck quite a bit. I think the Colts are going to take care of business in this contest. Andrew Luck in his career, 9-1 against the spread against the Titans. So I'm expecting their offense to come out firing. Luck's been great all season. He's thrown for 3 touchdowns in the majority of his games this year. So I think he can definitely take care of Titans. This defense is good, but I think Andrew Luck is better. So I think you can certainly go with a little bit of a contrarian Colt stack.
Okay, all right. I hate to interrupt this Yahoo discussion, but we do have breaking news. Pete the Man Chef, they're reporting that Sean Payton says Teddy Bridgewater will start at QB for the Saints on Sunday. LaMarca's, what is the spin?
I wish he was the minimum. You know what I'm saying? I wish he wasn't 5,500. They priced him up to a range where, he's the same price as Kirk Cousins. He's the same price, basically, as Lamar Jackson. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I think he could be a starter in this league, but playing with the Saints backups at 5,500, I don't think that doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah, it does. You want the Taylor Heineke price.
Exactly.
For Teddy Bridgewater. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard to, I mean, what's going to really be funny is when everybody plays Teddy Bridgewater and Taysom Hill gets half the snaps.
That could definitely happen too. I think if you want to go cheap, you look at maybe a little Blake Bortles at 4,400. I think that's the way you go if you want to, go dirt cheap at quarterback this week.
Yeah, what a world we live in where guys like Josh Johnson are ahead of Blake Bortles.
Yeah. Hey, Bortles is a gamer. I'm expecting him to come out and try to play spoiler here. They know that if they win this game, Houston doesn't win the division. And I think that's pretty motivating for a lot of teams. Like, I think the same thing's going to be going on with the Browns this week against the Ravens. So, like, I think the Jags and Browns both could very easily win those games outright.
Yeah, but, the only problem about Bortles, though, LaMarca's, is I like to find the extra 100 to get up to Matt Schaub.
Yeah, I feel pretty good that Matt Ryan's going to play. So, I'll stick with the starting QBs, I guess.
Okay. Just to keep you on your toes, real curveball, what did you have for Christmas dinner?
Ooh, Christmas dinner. We're a turkey family. Listen,
Okay.
I'm not a real fan of turkey, to be honest. I find it very bland. We have it twice a year on Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that's too many in my opinion.
Okay. All right, dude. All right. I had a little prime rib. You know how we do.
See, that's baller as shit. That's just so baller, prime rib on Christmas.
It is, dude. It is. It's been a great DFS season. Banked a lot of showdown slate, so I had to splurge on the prime rib.
That's that. I would expect nothing less. Like, I'm sure you turned up. What'd you do on Christmas? Like what does the Manz do on Christmas? Like, I'm just so curious. I need to know.
Yeah, we get the honeys out back at the pool and wearing the skimpy clothing, and we get in the hot tub, and they kind of like, how they fan like the Pharaoh and great. Sure. It's kind of like that, but with prime rib and Alizé and just bottle service, dude. It's just kind of, but it's not that special because it's kind of what I do every week, bro.
I want to know, have the honeys seen the video of you pouring a little pee on your head?
Dude, it actually turns them on, dude.
Yeah, they like the pee. Okay.
They really do. People forget. I'm glad, for a while people were calling me P Manzanelli. But I think I've really moved past it, and it's actually just a notch in my belt and not like a black mark,
Okay. So you're not like the bridge builder or whatever who, the story.
No, like, enlighten me.
He builds bridges. He builds bridges his whole life, and then he sucks one dick, and he becomes Tony the cocksucker instead of Tony the bridge builder. Like, I don't know if that's a little too vulgar for your channel, but that's the story. So you didn't become Manz, the guy who pours pee on himself.
It's true.
Manz the crusher.
It's right. I have avoided the Teddy Bridgewater situation. is what this all boils down to. All right. Are you playing primarily tournaments this week? Or are you gonna get some cash in there? What are you thinking?
I'm mostly a tournament guy. I do a little 3-man contest with the guys who I do the podcast with, but most of my action is tournaments each week.
Okay. All right. Let's start talking about some more plays. We talked about the running back situation with the Chiefs and the Steelers. I feel like when I'm looking at the list of running backs, the pool is pretty small this week, especially with top end guys. Where are you looking for running backs in tournaments this week?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously at the top, I think Melvin Gordon and Saquon Barkley are both fine plays. Like, I think they're going to see basically the whole workload for their teams. I mean, Gordon looked good last week. The Chargers still technically have something to play for. I mean, I guess if the Chiefs are blowing out the Raiders, maybe they pull him late, but I'm not really worried about that. I think those are two great guys to spend your money up for. But I think my favorite play is Chris Carson at 6,500. If you look at Seattle, like, they want to run the ball first, run the ball second, run the ball third, and then occasionally let Russell Wilson pass once the defense gets somewhat tired. Against Arizona, they're like 14-point favorites. They can't stop the run. They've been awful the last few weeks. I would be shocked if Chris Carson had less than 20 carries in this game. I think he can get to, 100 yards pretty easily. I think he can get the double touchdown for you. I think that he at 6,500 is my favorite tournament play.
And now this is one of those situations where you mentioned technically the Seahawks have nothing to play for, right?
Well, they could fall to the 6th seed if they lose. So, I guess that that could be something to play for. Like seeding. I don't know how much it matters to Pete Carroll. That's one of those things where it could mean something. It could mean nothing. Like, do you want to play the Cowboys in week 1? or do you want to play either the Rams or Bears, whichever team ends up as the 3 seed? Like, in my opinion, that's a pretty big gulf in class. Like, I'd want to do whatever I could to get the 5. And Pete Carroll has historically played his starters in week 17. So I'm not so worried about that. But I do hear what you're saying. Like, they do have a playoff spot locked up, so they could look to work like Rashad Penny in a little bit more since he's back this week.
Yeah, that I actually think that's probably the one concern, right? Is more the Rashad Penny and if they even the low. But we definitely know Pete Carroll, dude. Nothing makes that guy happier than sticking the ball in the gullet of one of his running backs 35 times a game.
Oh, yeah. Him and Brian Schottenheimer is a marriage made in football heaven.
Dude, I love have you seen these coaches trying to spin it? I think I saw the Ravens and Pete Carroll, and they're like, the whole league is moving to this passing offense, dude, but this actually gives us an advantage because everyone's trying to prepare for the pass game. But we just run it up the middle 45 times a game, and teams are like, what are they doing?
It's like an NBA team that still has like 2 traditional big men. Like, yeah, maybe on a night-to-night basis, it does give you an advantage, but like in the long run, we still know what the best way to build a football team is.
Let's talk about some of these other running backs. People seem to have this, I assume just because of the price, but people seem like very excited about these Broncos running backs, Royce Freeman and Devonta Booker. These seem like easy fades for me. Why are people excited about these guys?
Yeah, I don't get the Devonta, the
Freeman and Booker?
Yeah, sorry, the Freeman love. Like, he's shown me nothing this year. Anthony Amico, if he's still listening, he was trying to make a case last night that, no one has ran into 8-man boxes more often than Royce Freeman, which I guess is cool, but like, why would that stop this week? So I'm way off of him. I think I would much rather play Booker since I know he's going to be catching the passes out of that backfield. And it could be closer to like a 50-50 split than some people are thinking. So for me, Freeman is an easy fade. Booker is a little bit more appealing.
Yeah, it's tough though, because the thing we've seen all this year is it gets tempting to use these pass catching backs. They might have a nice floor, but how often are you going to get, the Darren Sproles week last week? I mean, you need them to bust off a long touchdown for them to really give you tournament winning upside. Another cheap guy everyone seems to love this week, I assume he's going to become mega chalk if Tevin Coleman sits, is Brian Hill. Where do you stand on Brian Hill's?
I like Brian Hill. I think Tevin Coleman's going to play, and that actually makes me like Brian Hill more because I think I'm going to get him at lower ownership. And we've seen pretty much all season that the Falcons want to use 2 running backs. Like at the start of the year, it was Freeman and Coleman. Then it became Coleman and Ito Smith. And now that Smith is gone, I think the role is pretty clear for Hill to take it. I'm not expecting another 100-yard game, but I do think he's going to be, pretty involved even with Coleman active.
Yeah. 2 more guys that were cheaper running backs last week that both smashed. I'm curious where they're going to fall into the ownership mix this week because they're kind of priced more in the no man's lands of the studs and duds, but that's Elijah McGuire's, the dude that cost me a little piss on my head, lest we forget, and Jamal Williams, who's playing 169% of the snaps for Green Bay. How do you feel about going back to the well on those guys?
Yeah, so I think I'm pretty firmly out on Jamal Williams, especially since he's going to be like the mega chalk. I think the whole fantasy community was pretty much convinced that he was garbage, and now he had one good week, and everybody's like, Jamal Williams, you got to jam him in. He's playing 100% of the snaps for the Packers. Like, we've seen him in this role, and we've seen him bust many, many times. So if he's going to be the chalk, I have no problem fading him. I do think Elijah McGuire is interesting, though, because the game situation, I think, sets up for him to catch a bunch of passes. Like, against the Patriots, they're basically 2 touchdown underdogs. I think he could do a lot of work in the passing game. We know they use him around the goal line. So I think McGuire is the more interesting of the 2 for me.
Yeah, this does seem like a week more than others to just fade almost 95% of the mega chalk because there are so many different directions you can go. There's just no need to take on that ownership. Right now, I would say the only 2 mega chalk guys I'm willing to own are Mahomes and Kittle. Is there any other mega chalk that you're willing to have?
Saquon.
Saquon?
Yeah. I just think that if Saquon has a ceiling game, it's going to be tough for most of the running backs on this slate to match him. And the situation sets up well. Like, he's probably going to get a lot of work against the Dallas backups. The Giants are basically a touchdown favorite. Like, that's a game script that Saquon Barkley has barely seen this season, being a favorite of at least a touchdown. So if he can get in, what we've seen from him in the passing game, plus a little more work on the ground, I think he could be, the highest scoring running back on the slate by a pretty strong margin.
And I guess the narrative, I've seen Silva's talking about it. The narrative is that they just want to beat a division rival. They want to make the Saquon Barkley pick look like it was justified. So you think it's going to be all out, 25 plus carries, Barkley going to smash?
Yeah, I mean, they haven't shown any, willingness to slow him down yet. And the Giants have been out of it for the past few weeks. So I definitely don't think that they're going to do it against the Dallas Cowboys, who, like, my father is a Giants fan. He friggin' hates the Cowboys. If they just rolled over and died against them, their fans would be so upset.
There you go, dude. There you go. There's some pop narrative.
That's right
there for you. And I see some people even tossing out the Giants defense as a play. You like that correlation?
Sure. I mean, who's their backup quarterback for the Cowboys? Like
Cooper Rush, dude.
Cooper Rush? Sure. I'll play a defense against Cooper Rush. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it is. I feel like the Cowboys are playing a little coy, right? They're saying that they're going to play their starters, but there's really no reason for them to do that whatsoever.
Right. They were in a similar situation a couple of years ago against the Eagles in Week 17 with everything clinched, and they played Dak for like half of the first quarter, and Zeke didn't play at all. So I think that we could be looking at a similar game script for the Cowboys here, and that's why the Giants are favored by 6 at home. Like, if the Cowboys really were going to play all of their starters, this game would maybe be a pick'em, maybe even Cowboys favorite on the road. So, Vegas typically knows better than we do.
How do you, obviously, this is GPP only, you sprinkle them in, 1 out of 1,000, et cetera, et cetera. Are there any of these situations where you would actually want to have exposure to, let's just use this example, Zeke, let's assume he barely plays, Rod Smith. If we think Rod Smith is going to get all the work for the Cowboys, no one's going to own him. We still have questions about how effective that offense would be if the Giants are trying hard. Are there any of these backup situations on good teams where you might go in on them?
I was super excited to play Rod Smith this week, but DraftKings is just too smart, man. 5,500. Like, I still am going to have some tournament exposure, but I was hoping he would be more in that, 4K type price range. But DraftKings is fully expecting Rod Smith, so they took a lot of the value away from us there.
That is crazy, dude. How is Rod Smith priced above Elijah McGuire and Sony Michel? Like, how is that? Yeah, there's someone over there, dude, had a little too much spiked eggnog over Christmas, I think. Yeah, that's an interesting situation. All right, let's talk about some receivers. There's definitely some of these high-end guys. Let's just toss out Juju, Julian Edelman, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Diggs, Keenan Allen. Who's jumping out to you if you spend up at wide receiver?
I'm buying the Devontae Adams narrative. Like, I think that the Packers want to get him the single season, Green Bay receiving record. Plus, he's just been really good this year. I mean, he's the #1 fantasy wide receiver, and he's only priced as the 7th most expensive wide receiver on this slate. So I think it's a good spot to go after Adams. Obviously, if Antonio Brown sits, Juju will become, the mega chalk, I think, with the Steelers at home as huge favorites. I think that those are probably the 2 guys I have the most interest in. That said, like, if Antonio Brown does play, I'm probably going to be interested in him because I think Matt Friedman single-handedly brought his career back to life.
Man, talk about the reverse jinx of all jinxes, dude. Man, I was so disappointed. I saw those tweets. I fell for it. I thought Antonio Brown actually threatened to sock Matt Friedman's in the jaws, but apparently I got fake news, dude.
That would have been great, right? Like, some of these receivers do read their tweets. Like,
yeah.
We had Michael. We wrote an article in the offseason about how Michael Thomas is the best receiver Drew Brees has ever played with, and he gave us a retweet. So can't guard Mike at Twitter. Like, these guys know. These guys know. I guarantee you Antonio Brown knows.
That's right, dude. He knows, and I mean, I would like to see the Action Network line on Antonio Brown versus Matt Friedman's line.
In a fight?
Yeah.
Oh my God. 15 seconds. Listen, Matt Friedman might be the smartest dude I've ever met, but he's not getting in the ring with a professional athlete and faring pretty well.
Dude, I can picture it now. Darren Rovell's is refereeing it. I mean, think of the odds, right? The ratings. It would be through the roof.
I'd watch it, that's for sure. I would 100% pay-per-view that.
One thing, though, circling back to this Davante Adams, because I would say going into the week, him and Kittle probably had like the strongest like narrative pull. But have you seen this stuff about his knee and how they're like not even committing to the fact that he's going to play?
Yeah, I have seen that. I think he's still listed as probable. I would imagine he's going to do everything possible to get out there.
Yeah.
And if that drives his ownership down, like I'm great with that. I think Green Bay is one of these teams that, like, you know, quote unquote, has nothing to play for. But, you know, if you look at Rodgers, like he's never faced this much scrutiny in his entire career.
Yeah.
You know, people are calling him washed. They're saying that, you know, he got Mike McCarthy fired, which if he really got Mike McCarthy fired, he should get a raise. Like if that was really the case. But for the first time in his career, like people are doubting his ability. So I think Green Bay wants to come out and put up a good showing. All
right. One other team we haven't talked much about, that is the Rams. Everybody's excited to play Robert Woods again. Do we know for sure if Gurley's going to sit or not? Are we going back to CJ Anderson? Does Brandon Cooks finally show us that ceiling again? Do you mess around with Goff? What are you doing here?
I'm a little bit worried about the Rams, to be honest. Like, they're huge favorites, but they really don't have much to play for. Like, if they get a lead in this game, I could see them kind of pulling some guys and coasting. So I'm going to be a little more underweight on the Rams than I think most people are. You know, like if Goff does play only the first half, let's say, like I have no interest in CJ Anderson behind a backup quarterback. So I will have some Woods. He's the most appealing option to me out of their skill guys. But other than that, I think I'm going to be pretty much underweight on the rest of the team.
Yeah. The other kind of wide receiver trio that's interesting is what we do with the Bucs, right? Because we got Mike Evans, who I feel like he might be the most underrated, at least fantasy producer in the league right now. He just kind of has been doing it week in and week out. We got Adam Humphries popping in the buy low model. Jameis loves him. And then we have Chris Godwin, who should come low owned. He's pretty cheap at 4,300. What do you like here?
Yeah, honestly, we have Godwin right now projected for 26 to 30% ownership at FantasyLabs. You know, I'm not sure if he'll really check in with ownership that high, but if that's the case, he's an easy fade for me. I think Humphries is the most interesting guy because I think he's priced now at a spot where he's not really cheap. Like people aren't going to want to pay up for him, but he's just been really consistent all year. He had 12 targets last week. He's sort of the guy I'm looking at against Atlanta. Like Atlanta has played very little defense for most of this year. So I think this game in particular is interesting for me. Like I like these teams to target. You know, you mentioned the Atlanta running backs. I think the Tampa Bay receivers could all be good plays as well. And, you know, Matt Ryan is a quarterback that I'm definitely interested in.
There you go. Matt LaMarca is not buying the Matt Schaub hype that I'm trying to push over here. One other team I wanted to talk about, the Bills. We, of course, have Josh Allen running for his damn life on every play, racking up those easy fantasy points. Everyone loves them. Some Robert Foster, love them. Some Zay Jones, love them. Some Isaiah McKenzie. Are you in on any of these guys?
I like Josh Allen a lot, but I think I'm playing him naked. Like, I know you love some naked Manz.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look at these two teams, the last time they played, Allen ran all over them. He had over 100 yards rushing, got the bonus, which getting that bonus rushing for a quarterback is like the holy grail right there. So yeah. I think that, you know, Buffalo should be able to move the ball against the Dolphins again. They outgained them in the last game, 415 yards to 175, and somehow lost. So I think the Bills look for some revenge here. I like Josh Allen a lot. I'm not as convinced on the receivers. You know, the big play guy, Robert Foster, has been like boomer bustish. He's hit a lot because he catches these targets, but I still think that he's got a little more downside than I'm looking for.
Yeah, it was funny. I was reading Silva's matchup column this morning, and you read about the Bills, and then I was, waiting to see what he had to say about the Dolphins, and the paragraph just ended, and we went to the next game.
Yeah, the Dolphins, like, who knows? Who knows what the Dolphins are doing? Maybe I kind of like Kenyon Drake if you want to have somebody from that game. I think he's pretty good in that role as like a change of pace type guy, but the coaching staff hates him for some reason. So,
dude, no, that's a great call. This does seem like the perfect, I've been trying to think. We know always in week 17, there's that one somewhat random running back that has like 200 yards and 2 TDs. It does feel like it could be Kenyon Drake, right?
Sure.
And we know he has the ability. He's explosive running back. They'll use him in the pass game. The kind of underreported story is he got a lot more work than Balaj last week, right?
Yes. And like, I always thought that, like, Balaj massively outgained him 2 games ago when Gore got hurt. But by the time that happened, it was like 21-0 already. They were getting shellacked. I think they just wanted to see what Balaj was about. Like, Drake is still the running back you want in Miami, in my opinion.
Dude, there's no coach. I mean, maybe there's a couple up there that bullshits more than Gase, dude. I mean, if you read those articles when they were talking about Balaj, you would have thought they were about to give him 35 carries a game, dude. I mean, they are so fucking full of shit. I like it, dude. Kenyon Drake this week. Naked Josh Allen, bring it back with Kenyon Drake. Let's make some money.
Let's do it.
Okay, there we go. Tight ends, we obviously covered Kelsey and Kittle are the big dogs. You mentioned Big Vance, Uncle Vance, McDonald's. Are there any other tight ends you're going to sprinkle in this week?
Gerald Everett, maybe. Like, if you do want to go with the Rams, if you're not scared off by that narrative, he's been getting a lot more snaps since Cooper Kupp got hurt. He's got at least 6 targets each of the past 3 weeks, and they like to use him in the red zone. So he's only 2,800. Like, if you want to go way cheap at tight end, I think that's going to be a contrarian build. Like, I think most people will have one of Kelsey, Ertz, or Kittle. So going all the way down to a guy like Everett and then paying up, almost everywhere else, I think is going to be a pretty unique strategy.
What about Tyler Eifert or Hunter Henry? The chat is wondering.
Hey, both guys are great. I was talking to Stephen A the other day. He told me Tyler Eifert's going off this week. So.
Yeah, did he also tell you to stay off the weed? Dude, sorry, Stephen A. I can't do it, dude. I can't listen to you there.
Oh, man.
What about one other game we actually haven't talked about at all is this Ravens Bengals. I'm actually not playing any DFS this week because I think Baker Mayfield has tarnished the game of football with his stare down of Hugh Jackson.
Oh, my God.
I will now be boycotting until he apologizes.
I honestly thought Baker would be your boy. Like, he's just dripping with swag.
No, he is. He is, dude. But, you can't be acting like this. You need to show your respects to your ex-coach that basically hated you and tried to keep you on the sidelines at all costs.
Talked a bunch of crap about you as he left town. I love it. I'm very firmly in the camp that, like, these are grown men getting paid to play a game. Like, let them have fun. So I love that. I love, Cam Newton dressing up like the Riddler at his press conferences, like wearing all sorts of crazy outfits. I love the end zone celebrations. I want more end zone coordination. You know what I'm saying? I want a full 53-man roster end zone celebration by one of these teams at some point.
That would be nice, dude. What about, I'm trying to think, what would be a good 53-man idea? Maybe they pretend they're a marching band out there doing like a choreographed marching band dance. That could be good.
Yeah, listen, I have a lot of marching band experience. I was the president of the Stony Brook University marching band. Little known fact about me. So I would love it if maybe like they came out and they made like a little football, in the end zone. Like, I think that'd be cool.
That's nice. Well, you clearly peaked in middle school and high school, LaMarcas, with that revelation.
No way, man. Listen, when you're in the band in high school, there's a little bit of a negative stigma. When you're in the band in college, people want to party with you. Like, there's a switch, People have that school spirit. They're like, oh, you're in the band? That's awesome. Like, plus, being able to play an instrument has its pluses, man. So I'm sure you know that.
Let's give us a one-time at band camp story, LaMarcus.
I don't know if I have a great one. Band camp actually kind of sucks. Like, that's the worst part about being in the band. The best I can think of is one time I had like long hair going, and then I just had to get my head shaved and got a really bad sunburn. That's the best I got for you.
Oh man, dude, I was hoping some chick was playing skin flute, something like that. But okay, okay. All right, all right. What was I getting? Oh, someone wants to know about a tight end named Swoom. Are they talking about Jason Kroom, or is there a Swoom tight end I don't know about?
Swaim, maybe, for the Cowboys?
Maybe he's mixing up Jason Kroom and Swaim. I think you jam both of them in, double flex, and we call it the Swoom play.
I think you could add them both together and it would equal one bad play. So,
dude, I have yeah, dude, the Manz double tight end punt strategy kind of really died. These all these bell cow running backs kind of destroyed it.
listen, I still think it might have some viability in cash games, but like unless you're putting two of the like elite guys together, you just don't have enough upside with those teams.
Yeah, the FFPC main event winner, $250,000 this past week, took it down with an Ertz and Kittle lineup. Yeah, but it basically it has to be Ertz, Kittle, and Kelsey, two of those three. Beyond that, like no one has that ceiling.
Yep. Yeah, I'm all about the tight ends in the FFPC leagues. I rode Travis Kelsey to a title in my league this year. So you know, in the Football Guys Player Championship. I don't have that FFPC main event money like you, Manz, but you know,
dude, you got to come out for draft next year. It's a fun time.
Oh, I mean, I never need an excuse to go to Vegas. I'm already there like 2 or 3 times a year. I friggin' love that place. So sure, I'll make that happen.
Well, this is what happens every year in the offseason. Everyone's like, oh, everyone should get together in Vegas, blah, blah, blah. And then like, you know, August rolls around. Everyone's like, I can't do it. No, I can't do it. But the Manz holds it down, dude. I have a second home in Vegas, and I find myself out there a lot.
That's where they had the gambling Olympics, right?
That's true. It's true. That was normally I'm on the strip, dude. We were out staying in a mansion off the strip at a unidentifiable location.
Yeah, I was told that there would be some sort of Rotoviz like poker game in Vegas.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to come try and show you a thing or two on the felt. That's the one part of your game, by the way, that I have not changed my opinion on. I still think I can take you on the felt any day of the week.
Okay, LaMarcus.
I'm ready to make that happen. I saw you playing on whatever show that was next to the guy with the watermelon. I was not impressed.
Okay.
I think I could have done better than you against Jennifer Tilly.
All right. You're talking a lot of shit. You know, I'm glad that you waited until the end of the program to try to disparage my name again right after you did 30 minutes of getting in my good graces. And now I'm ready to fucking end this show because you just challenged my poker acumen. That's what you just did, LaMarcus.
You know, I've seen the videos. I know you're a 1-3, you know, grinder legend at the Excalibur. I'm not impressed. Listen, the games in New York blow the Excalibur out of the water. I'm ready.
Yeah, dude. Tell me this. Tell me the address. I'll show up. I'll fuck you up. All your little cronies get your paycheck every other week and then go blow it at the poker table. The Manz will happily take it.
I'm ready. I'll come to you. All right. Or we'll meet in Vegas, whichever's easier or better.
All right, dude. All right. That's it. Everyone, show's over because LaMarca's just challenged me to a heads-up match. You don't want any piece of this, bro. You don't want any piece of this. We got Johnny Ringo's in the chat. Johnny Ringo's is my big poker Manz, dude. He wants in on the action. Last thing before we wrap up, what are you doing? Any defenses you like? I mean, defense is already an inherently volatile, crazy position. But this week, my God, dude, what are we doing at defense?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to Seattle wherever I can. I actually like the idea of paying up for them and pairing them with Carson. I think that's a really interesting stack. If you want to go cheaper, Green Bay is cool in my opinion. I'm fine with the Giants at basically the minimum. And the Chiefs is 2 touchdown favorites too.
Yep. All right. There you go. So LaMarca's, he loves him some Carson, loves him some Seahawks. He's practically Pete Carroll, believes 9/11 was an inside job. Anything else?
That's it. Again, thank you for having me on. I'm sorry I had to take some shots at your poker game, but you have everything else. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't be good at everything, man.
No, I can, and I've proven it over and over. Over and over, dude. Even crypto, dude. Sure, Bitcoin might be at 3,000, but that doesn't mean Man's coin isn't mooning, dude. It's mooning.
I'm super excited about. I'm hoping it dips, honestly, so I can buy the dip.
Buy the dip, dude. Well, it's been dipping for the past 11 months, so you have your opportunity.
No, the Man's coin. I want to buy the Man's coin dip.
Oh, no. Man's coin doesn't dip, dude. It doesn't dip. Like someone who doesn't like tobacco in their lip, Man's coin doesn't dip. Nailed it. All right, dudes. Thank you so much to my guest, LaMarca's. Normally, he misses LaMarca's. Today, he hit LaMarca's right in the G spot. You guys can find him on Fantasy Labs, the Action Networks. You can find him on Rotoviz. You can find him on Anthony Amico's YouTube stream, where he has turned their little podcast into some glorified Twitch production. I mean, you can find him everywhere. Matt LaMarca's, is there anything else that I'm missing?
DraftKings live show. I do that a couple times a week, but that's really about it. Other than that, I do nothing.
Someone has a connection at DraftKings? You try to get my username changed?
I can put in a word for you. I'm not sure that they'll listen to me. I tried to get invited out to their holiday party. They told me no. So I'm not sure how much pull I have.
Wait, how did that go? Dude, that's kind of sad. You asked to get invited to a holiday party and they said no.
No, that didn't really happen. But I heard people talking about it, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm on the show enough that I should get the invite. And they actually told me they would send a car for me. But I said, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh, they would send a car all the way to New York. Oh, where was the party? In Boston or New York?
Boston.
Okay, yeah, that'd be a little bit of a drive.
That's a car service. So, but yeah, no, I don't know. I'll try though, man. If anybody deserves a username change, it's you. Seriously, dude, for the amount of things I've done for that company, I mean, my God. All right, dudes, I believe the Man's GPP filled already, but I believe there's spots in the Rotoviz on the daily league, right? Yeah, we just created that yesterday, so plenty of spots open. I'm upset that yours filled because I was looking to go back to back. I guess I'll have to wait until the playoffs. Where can people find the link to? Because I know there were a few people that wanted to get in the Man's GPP one, but if you guys still, I know I'm already in the Rotoviz one, so you guys can come compete with me there. Yeah, we tweeted out. You can check. I'll drop a link after this show on my Twitter at Matt LaMarca. Okay, there you guys go. If you didn't get in the Man's GPP and you still want to tango with me in Week 17, let's do it in the Roto Jizzers League. All right, for Matt LaMarca's, I'm Pete Manzanelli. Have a great Week 17. Get paid, get laid. Peace.